Welcome to Fashion Entree's live talk where we inspire innovation through conversation. My name is Jacqueline.
And my name is Fernanda.
And today's special guest is Taji de Souza, wardrobe stylist and executive producer extraordinaire. Taji, thank you so much for being with us today.
No problem. I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. So real quick, for those who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into fashion?
Okay, so my name is Taji. I know Jacqueline just gave the introduction of my name. Thank you for that. I am a wardrobe stylist, executive producer for a virtual fashion show that's happening now, still happening. The model edition, I believe, just ended. So the designer edition is coming soon. I'm also a New York Fashion Week fashion producer, coordinator, and radio personality and host, and a few other things, but I know this is about fashion, so we're gonna stick to that. How I got into fashion, I've actually, since I was little, my mom always dressed me up, and I think that just stayed with me, and I just love it.
Right.
I guess we could just say that.
Right. Especially the people. And you are something you mentioned earlier of doing so many things. You got so many things under your belt, which is something that I find very common with a lot of fashion people here. For example, we just interviewed someone who is a model and a photographer and a stylist and does all of the things. And it's just people like you that we find the most interesting. So, if you can break down for our listeners real quickly the difference between a wardrobe stylist and a fashion stylist.
So it's not much of a difference, just slightly. So more of a fashion stylist is more one that actually pulls your outfits for you. Hence, like the Met Gala award shows and stuff like that. It's like, hey, this is what you're wearing. Bam. Wardrobe stylist is more on delivering your own personal style. Could be a mixture of mine on what I think looks really cute on you and yours as well. We don't necessarily have to bring clothes to you. The clothes can be there already and we're just putting the looks together.
Right.
Interesting. So you are currently located in New York, right?
Yes, I'm a New York native.
Yes.
A lot of things happening here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. So have you been dealing with COVID, especially with the industry kind of slowing down?
Well, I mean, I do have a day job, so I am busy with that. But other than that, it's annoying. I'm sure it is for everybody, but it's given me time to actually do things that I didn't really have time for when I was so busy out going to events and helping people and so forth. So it didn't calm me down a lot, but just a little bit.
Just enough.
A little bit is better than zero time. So I'm just happy that I'm actually able to spend more time with family and friends as well, because I was always out and about. So, and it can be challenging, but it's how the virtual fashion show happens. So I guess you can say something benefited from it, because that's going to be the new thing happening. And it's new for me. And it's new for a lot that come on the platform. So, I mean, that's something that the models can take with them and say, hey, I've done virtual. Check.
Which is what caught my eye immediately on Instagram, because I know big companies have been slowly shifting to that way, but they never quite did the full transition. But you just went full on virtual runway, virtual casting. If you can tell us a little bit about that, like what inspired you to do that?
So the inspiration came from us being under quarantine. And, I'm sure there's a lot of others like me. I'm a social butterfly. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm sure models feel like that are aspiring. Like, hey, I was doing shows, I was booked for photo shoots and so forth. And now I can't even do it anymore. So it was to bring enlightenment. And, a lot of people started doing music showcases and stand-ups on IG Live. And I said, where's the fashion? No one's really catering to fashion. So I was sitting on the idea for a little while because I would just wanted to make sure everything was sufficient. And, you know, I started seeing other fashion things happening. I was like, oh no, I gotta make this happen. And mine was a little different from what I was seeing. But that's what started it, is to bring enlightenment more to the models. As a wardrobe stylist, I don't just have clients, you know, that are everyday people. They're also models, and I've developed relationships with them. And I felt like they don't really have voices when it comes to being a model. And I wanted to give them that platform and say, hey, well, what else do you do other than model? If you do something other than that, and, you know, introduce yourself, show us what you got.
Right.
So that's how it all started.
I'm so for that. I'm incredibly grateful for you doing that, especially as a model myself. Not having a voice is just, you know, it can be frustrating. And the fact that you are using your platform, or you're creating a platform for these models, you're onto something. It's revolutionary. It should have happened a long time ago, but I'm glad we're doing it now.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy the models are happy. I'm happy the panelists are happy, the sponsors, and everyone that's just been watching. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on it. And I thank you for reaching out, you know.
Thank you for being with us.
Exactly.
Okay, so there were some things that you mentioned earlier, so I kind of want to break things down. We're going to go back to the wardrobe stylist a little bit, and then we're going to go back to the runway. How are you using your experience as a wardrobe stylist into creating, or the process into creating, the virtual runway and working with models?
So even though the models are being critiqued on their own personal style, because it's kind of like a lot, like, even though it's aspiring and established models that are in the show, it's also giving people the idea of, you know, we don't want to lose you in it, because it's also about you. So if they need my expertise, I am more than happy to assist with styling ideas. Like, hey, this actually would look better if you style it this way versus that. So I am not overpowering and telling them, hey, this is what you need to wear, and that's that. Because then you do the runway and then you're like, either thank you so much for the help, or I actually really wanted to wear this and I feel like I can't be myself because Fashion Coffee put me in this. So I am actually putting my 2 cents in if they do need it. And the critique is also based on style. So that's where I present myself in it. Like, oh, okay, I like how you put that together.
Right. Super cool.
Yeah. So the critiques is on style. The critiques is on style, their personality, creativity, their walk, hair, and makeup as like a whole for them.
So whole thing. They get the whole package.
That's interesting. Yeah. So why the name Fashion Coffee? How did you get to that name?
I get asked that a lot. Automatically people like, oh, I love it, but they never really ask me like, where did it come from? So actually I used to have a business before Fashion Coffee. And the name was pretty much directive more to females. And I said, okay, I need to change the name. I needed to like rebrand and change the name. And I style both men and women and gender fluid. It's not just women. So I wanted something that was more unisex. And that people can understand like, hey, this is fashion. So fashion is in there. And coffee, I thought about daily and I'm like, okay, well, that's taken. And then I'm like, when you think of fashion, I love fashion. Others love fashion. And it's something that you want every day. Hence coffee. People need to have it every day. And you can have it in different flavors. Hot, cold, pumpkin, spice, hazelnut, French vanilla. So everybody has their own take on style. So that's where Fashion Coffee came from.
Super love that. Okay. So since your fashion voice is so strong, and we love that, how do you go about putting together something for someone? Because you mentioned like you put something for the everyday person. What is that like?
So, okay, I'll give an example. Let's say someone I used to work with, and she loved my personal style. She didn't know I was a wardrobe stylist, but I brought that to her. So what it's like is either I give you the option of I pick all the clothes out for you and you can tell me what works, what doesn't work. But of course it starts off with a questionnaire because I need to know more about you. So I'm not just going to throw clothes at you and say, hey, these are some great ideas, wear them.
Right.
So I want to get to know you first because I feel like you deserve that. And then I take that and I try to come up with a personal style for you. Hey, maybe try color. Like, I'll say, for example, if you like just wearing solid colors, maybe try a pattern and vice versa. Don't be afraid to try something new. And that's like my go-to. Like if you go into a store and it's not really something that you would wear, but you can't take your eyes off of it, it's for a reason. So try it, see how it looks, and you might actually fall in love with it.
Right. Love that.
So that's how my process goes. Yeah.
Especially like if it's for a reason, it's talking to you.
Right. Right. Because I'm not one that likes earthy colors. But if I'm looking at it, it's just like, let me try and see how this looks. Now it may not look so great, but I can, and then judging from the type of clothing, you just know what works for you and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. You listen to the clothes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Clothes talk to you, but you wear them. Don't let them wear you.
Exactly.
I love that quote. Yeah. So as a wardrobe stylist, what is your dream shoot or campaign or a celebrity that you would like to style for?
So I'm just going to answer the last one because that stuck out to me. Of course, I would love to style Beyonce. Who wouldn't want to love styling her? Because she's out there every day, all day, and a lot of people look up to her. So, and then she has a lot of followers. And you know what? Even Billie Eilish, I love her. She's cute, and she has her own style. She stands out in her own way. I would love to style her as well. In regards to campaign or photo shoot, I'm gonna go with the shoot part because I did have an idea that was supposed to happen, before the quarantine came along. It was more of a networking thing and helping others build up their portfolio. Because, everybody wants it to build up their portfolio. Like, you can't get enough. Things change every day. And it was catering, and it's everyone. Wardrobe stylist, fashion designer, makeup artist, hairstylist, model. Everyone is a part of that photo shoot, even the photographer. So let's come together, let's network, and get those photos, and then we all post the photos and we all have different support systems. There you go.
Right.
So that was what I was looking forward to, and hopefully soon.
Well, I think you will, because I remember when we were looking through your work, you seem to be published multiple times, and you worked with magazines, and not only just runways, but you seem to be all across the board, which is fantastic.
And growing. You just
Always
have
growing.
to, believe in yourself.
Right.
That's where it starts from.
So we're going to go back a little bit to the runway because I'm just so fascinated with how and why you put it together. We noticed something super, super cool. Political. Tell us and our audience a little bit about this runway called Political. Why political?
So actually a friend of mine, I'm just gonna say shout out to Deborah from Enjoy Looks, Short Hair Don't Care. We've established a relationship and I'm so happy I met her. She is the part of the duo with Elena, so thank you for her. She was actually approached to coordinate a fashion show for Eric L. Adams, who is the borough president of Brooklyn. And it was
okay.
to celebrate 400 years of fortitude for enslavement. And of course, I said, oh, I got this. Only thing is, I had to put it together in 2 weeks. So
oh my gosh.
I had to like promote
Wow.
quickly, and
Not
thank
easy.
God. Right. And it's like, thank God I've developed a lot of relationships with models, because then if they couldn't do it, I'm sure they referred someone else. So I
Right.
had to do all of that. The models, the hair, the makeup, everything, the designers even. And then it
Oh
kind
my
of like
gosh.
changed here and there. Like it was like, oh no, we need these designers. No, we need more designers. I was like, okay, the pressure's on.
Right.
But that's how that happened. It was a great experience for everyone. And it was actually supposed to be in a different location, but they switched it to the courtroom. So
What
I
was
mean, the
the
models that they
original
loved it.
location?
I'm not sure the name of the room, but it was more marble. It was more
Oh, okay.
marble, and it was more open. But I think the courtroom was better because there was more people, and the seating was better.
I
So
loved
yeah,
the courtroom. I thought that was so brilliant. Because
Exactly. It like really made a statement.
it truly made
made
a
an
statement.
impact.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a
Especially,
statement.
yeah. A lot of people that we interview, some say that fashion is political. Is this something that you agree with?
It can be. I'm
It
not
can
gonna say
be.
100%. I'm not gonna say 100%, but it can be.
Mm. Well, in this one, it certainly was, and I loved it. Not only could I see, the outfits in a courtroom, I can also see it as it was the voice of it. The narrative was just so strong.
It
The
told a
identity of the
story.
runway, right?
Right. They wanted designers that were African clothing affiliated.
Right.
So they all started from, because they were all, of course, yeah, they all have African clothing as designers, but they're different. So we started from like years ago and brought it to modern. So it was like a flow to it.
Love it. Love that. And it
Yeah, I
seems to
loved it.
be still relevant today, especially today.
Yeah. And I know it's so weird that it kind of ties into what's going on now,
Right.
I mean, even though Black Lives Matter, and I'll just touch on it like lightly because it's like really powerful on what's going on right now, and it's sad at the same time.
Right.
But slavery versus, racism and everything, it's definitely together.
Right.
But slavery is not what's happening now. It's more of racism and a lot of hate.
Right.
And it can be a form of slavery, I will say. I don't really like to touch on politics too much. But it definitely was that day when I did the political fashion show. We definitely learned a lot. Like,
Right.
even though that is part of my heritage, I will say that doesn't mean I know everything.
Right.
So we all learned things. Some of us cried, some of us
Fantastic.
didn't, and that's how it is today. Like with the empowerment, it just makes you feel stronger,
Right.
and wanting to push, like, I want to be heard. And you could be heard as well through your clothes.
Right.
Yeah.
But today is crazy. So it very similar, very touchy.
Right. Very touchy. But I love that because it's also in your runway, you were celebrating.
Right.
And it was also a learning experience, like you said, something that people are slowly starting to do. They're slowly learning about the issues, which is great. Again, it could have happened a long time ago, but I'm glad it's happening. And the fact that we're able to use fashion in this way to bring awareness and empowerment is just a beautiful thing to me. So I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully
To
I can
both
do it
of
again
us.
soon.
I'm pretty sure we will. There's one final thing that I kind of want to touch upon, is that when you're styling for somebody, I know you said you start off at the everyday person, but how do you select your clientele? Do they come to you or do you come to them?
They actually come to me because I network so much that, you know, like, hey, I'm a wardrobe stylist. And they're like, oh man, I could use your services. Or I know someone that can use your services. And then it just happens through word of mouth. And, you know, with me being a radio personality, I talk to, you know, people from the fashion industry, music, different industries, which is even great because everyone needs a stylist, you know, even if it's advice. So, you know, I've been to music showcases, I've been to comedy shows, I've been to open mics where there was like spoken word. So, I mean, it just kept going from there. And it's mainly through word of mouth.
Right.
Which I love.
So powerful. Also, in your bio, you say you don't follow the trends. You seem to make your own trend. How do you go about that?
Let's see. I don't know. I'm a creative. I'm known as one that's always thinking of being innovative. I just have ideas that I like to think outside the box. Like, hey, that's too normal. Let's do something different. And I just like putting that thought together and putting it into a photo shoot right away before it becomes like a big trend.
Right.
But that's what made Fashion Coffee come out, because the ideas I would have in the past always became a trend. And I'd be like, oh man, like, like, no. Like, this is not happening.
Right.
I thought about this. This is not right. But it's more, you know, how do I say? I feel like you shouldn't have to follow a trend. Everybody has their own distinctive look. I'm not saying it's not okay to follow trends. I will say I can follow them at times, but I like to have my own uniqueness on that.
Right.
So let's say, for example, I'm wearing a trend. This is like the color of the month, ocean, right? I'm wearing this because, yeah, you know, I just like it, but I have my own, like, I added gold to it, and then, you know, the shoes and everything that is on me. So if it's a trend that I love, yeah, I'll do it. But sometimes I'll do the complete opposite.
Going in your own lane.
Stand out, like, hey, this is popping. I like this.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, that's how I make that happen. So it's not that I don't follow trends all the time. I just like to do my own thing at my own speed. Sometimes I'm ahead. Sometimes I'm on the same page. And sometimes I'm behind. But if I'm behind, people are still going to look and say, ooh, where'd you get that?
It's just how you style it, right?
Right.
It's how you make it your own thing. Right.
It could be the bag, it could be, you know, the hat, like, of course, accessories, or it could be your shoes, like, it could be anything that just made your outfit like, wow. Sometimes it's the makeup.
True.
Sometimes it's the makeup. Can't go wrong with a lipstick.
Right.
So going off of the trends, especially with fast fashion, it's only based on trends and how the trends they're for a very, very short time. And that's like kind of the problem, you could say, about fast fashion. What are your thoughts on fast fashion?
My thoughts are, I mean, it's gonna happen. I just feel like it just happens way too often, because to me, I call it like it just gets recycled. So whatever is happening now, it's gonna happen again in another few years. So what's happening now happened way back then when I was like in elementary school. What I don't like about it is when it's no longer a trend. Like, there's some that just be like, oh my God, this, I can't wear this anymore. Let me give this away. But then you end up being upset at yourself because later on you need it again.
Right.
So I would say with the being fashion forward and with the whole trends and everything like that, it could be slightly annoying
Mm-hmm.
because it makes people feel like they have to be someone else.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's true.
Right. And it makes you feel like, oh man, I can't be caught wearing this because it's not trending right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
But
their
you want to
voice. It
be
doesn't.
right, but you want to be fashionable.
Right.
So to me, I feel like, yeah, be fashionable, have your own personal style. And I mean, if you want to be trendy, you can be trendy at the same time.
But be you. That's the most important thing.
Exactly. So it's
Yes.
tough with that one. It's nice to know what's trending,
Yeah.
Right.
but can I have my own personal touch to that as well?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you're doing because it ties into the sustainability movement that people have been trying to push towards. You not just recycle, you really are selective in putting together pieces that can be reused, or just bring back the attention and put back the
Right.
value in the clothing or the shoes or the purse or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I love working with a lot of emerging designers as well because they have their own voice in their clothes, and sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
matches to the client,
Mm-hmm.
and they love feeling special. So of course you're gonna feel special in a custom piece.
Right. So then, do you find yourself inspired by the clientele that you style for?
Sometimes, yeah. I'm like, wow, that looks really nice on you. But that wouldn't look nice on me, but I can sit back and admire.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they do. Because sometimes, if they're willing to, when they're willing like to try more than anything, that pushes me. Because sometimes I just know, like, this is not for me. I don't like it. Mm-mm. But
Right.
it keeps me open-minded.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, so you said sometimes, besides the trends, what else inspires you to put together something for someone?
Let's see. Of course, what it's for. Like if it's for a special event, like I would definitely need to know what's going on. If you're just trying to revamp your closet, that's a whole nother story versus if you need to be styled up for a fashion show
Right.
or a gala. So that definitely brings in the inspiration there. But if it's just because, then of course I need to figure out your significant style if you have one. And if you don't, I try to, figure things out like your favorite color, what you would wear, what you wouldn't wear.
Right.
So I mean, a lot can go with that. But it would mainly be the event. Like what is the purpose of this?
Right. Purpose, and then filling in and helping people develop their own fashion voice. Fantastic.
Right.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are currently running out of time, but we have a little bit of time for one last question.
Okay.
The fashion industry, as we know it, is not perfect, but it's improving little by little. And you seem to be the type of person who loves to fill in the gaps, and you like to be ahead of it. Again, you said you were innovative. Love that. If you can part with our audience, what are some gaps that you see that they can help fill?
Ooh. All right. So this one, I would say, I'm not sure if I'm taking on this right. But the gaps I would say is we have voices. No matter what position we're in, wardrobe stylist, model, makeup artist, or whatever, we come to events and it's just like, hey, you're here to just do your job and that's it. But I'm still a human being. I have a name. I have a name. And I'm here to help you, right? And I have a story. I mean, we don't need to know our personal business, but we all have stories. And I'm a human being, and I feel like the gaps are people being treated. And this is a generalization. And I'm gonna give a shout out to someone I know with anti-bullying. He has an anti-bullying in the workplace, and that bullying can happen in fashion.
Right.
So to fill the gaps, I would just say no more bullying in the workplace, especially the models.
Especially
it's
the
not
models.
cool.
Right.
not cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Thank you
agree
for that.
with, you know, people telling me I have to be a certain person. Can't say bleep, bleep, bleep in order to grow.
Right.
You know, I don't
Right.
agree with that at all.
Uh-huh.
So those are the gaps that need to be filled. Treat others in your industry the way you want to be treated.
Exactly. And that's a great closing. Thank you so much for that. That is incredibly important, and everyone needs to hear it. And thank you so much. So, Taji, we had such a lovely time with you. Thank you for being with us on Fashion Eéntre. And where can our listeners follow you?
Yes, well, thank you for having me, Fashion Eéntre. I love the name, Fashion and Fashion Eéntre Coffee. So anyway, you guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at fashion_coffee_. And I'm also on Facebook under Fashion Coffee. And in my bio, you'll find my website. And look out Wednesday, actually. Oh, this past Wednesday was the finale, 17th, for the virtual fashion show. So just look out for the designer edition.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Oh yeah, go for it.
No, it was just like a thank you.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yay. Thank you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe for our newsletter coming very soon. And we will see you all next week.
Bye,
all right. Goodbye. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thank you.
It was great meeting you. Great talking with you.
You as well. Stay safe.
You too.
You too.